bitches!
Oh, hello everyone. I'm back. It's me, that guy that nobody knows on the internet. Oh, maybe there's like 3, 2? I don't know. Surely someone was like, damn, that Broku guy disappeared. Anyway, we're here to fulfill childhood dreams. With AI. Not the Elon kind where you try and turn your AI into a waifu. Those were not my childhood dreams. We're here to fulfill the I wanted to make a game kind of dreams. And it's always something I've wanted to do. But life kept getting in the way in various different ways. And as you've seen, I've disappeared from YouTube for a while. Again, life. But anyway, enough about me. So I've decided I'm going to casually do a series on can you make a game with AI? I think AI has gotten to the point now where you probably can, and I don't mean like AI art and AI everything, I just mean I don't know how to do this, like code for example. Whilst I can sort of read some of it a little bit, it's just not something I will ever have the time to actually learn between working and everything else going on in life. So even though life has tried to fuck me really bad for the last, I don't know, year and a bit since I've been disappeared, things are kind of okay again. And I've been able to say, all right, let's start looking at hobbies again and, you know, try and have some fun in life. Hopefully this is interesting for anyone who's followed my channel. I know it won't be interesting for everyone, but we're gonna do our best to blindly stumble into making a game because there's like no games that I'm interested in and haven't been for quite a while. So I was like, fuck it, make my own game. I remember when I was growing up, alongside the development of phones, we did not have smartphones. In fact, when I was a young child, mobile phones didn't even exist, and they just started coming out. Man, playing Space Invaders or Snake was just, the portable game console. It was the best thing. Always trying to ask for your parents' phone, hey, can I play this game? And they were like, no, fuck off, I'm using it to make phone calls. You're like, damn it, one day I will have my own portable game console that can also make phone calls. So, here we are in the modern day, and we have the best smartphones, gaming phones, and there's honestly not really that many good games, if any. Most of it's all gacha, and the gameplay usually consists of daily chores, grinding, and open your wallet for the next event. And personally, I miss the days where you could bring a PSP around, or I suppose we've got the Switch these days, but again, what games are there to play? If anyone has the Switch too, I'm sure they played out Mario Kart mostly. So I figure if AI is now good enough where President Trump can design his tariffs on how he wants to charge fishes, then I feel like it's probably good enough for me to do some messy coding and, you know, get a rough game working. And shit, if things go well, we can even release the game and hopefully people can have fun playing it. Wouldn't that be nice? Now, if things go really well, I'd love to have multiple games eventually. I just like making things. It's fun. I make videos and I like making things. So the general idea of this game, even if it is structured like a gacha, which it probably kind of will be at this point, because that's what everyone's familiar with on mobile. And maybe later on we can move on to making actual games for PC and stuff, but we'll just see, one step at a time. But the general idea is that I'd like everyone to be able to enjoy this game. They don't need to grind hours daily and weekly and whatever, or to have to open their wallet or be in the top 10% of earners instead of just wasting hours extra fighting a same fight or something like that because they didn't open their wallet enough. I would like to try and have some sort of income there because I'd like to be able to pay artists to do nice art, you know, assuming we can get this game released and have a nice finished product. I'm not really a fan of AI art, generally speaking, and I know most artists hate it because usually it works off stolen art. That's what it's trained on. But also, I just think there's a lack of soul to a lot of AI art. Whilst it can be cool and AI can be a very useful tool, which is kind of what I'm using it as, because I ain't got programmer money to pay a programmer to do a whole damn project. So I'm using it more like a tool as an assistant. I think that's what AI should be used for. That's kind of my stance on it. It's there to help us do the things we don't want to or can't easily do. And sure, if that's making a piece of art, great, but I don't think that that should be the case for an entire game. I'd like to get some artists in if we get near the end of the project and it's like, okay, it's all there, it's all ready, we just need some neat art, and then we go to export the app or export it on Steam or whatever that is. I think that's probably the end goal for this one. So to start us off on this project, I figured I'd try ChatGPT and Godot. I have tried over the years many different times, way back even, you know, in the early 2000s, to attempts to make games, all miserable failures and didn't get very far at all. But this time, I think we can get there. I don't know anything about Godot, so I am going to go into that completely blind. I would have used Unity last time I would have attempted to make anything. Probably the most serious prior attempt I had at making a game was wasting my time going to uni to learn. And the teachers were so bad that one of them literally, and I direct quote this, told me when I asked him a question on how to do something, he said, "It is not my job to teach you." Well, it's in the title of job description, teacher, so you can see how poor the institutions are over here for this kind of thing. So we're just going to wing it with AI this time, and AI is going to do better than any of the teachers, that's for sure. If this series goes anywhere, then I guess you can expect a video probably every month or so. We'll just see what free time I have, since, again, this is a hobby, and then every time I make a video, which I do enjoy doing, but it does take time away from making the game itself. So probably a little less production quality in my videos, you know, not that they were ever like super production quality, but I like to stop and, you know, spend a lot of time putting in memes and stuff. Maybe a bit less of that, but we'll see. We'll just see what happens. We'll see how the journey unfolds. All right, now that my 10-minute monologue is over, I have actually just started because I wanted to see if it was even possible before I bothered starting to make a video. It does seem like I can fumble my way through the program. I can also fumble my way through code with ChatGPT. I'm going to see if I can just get a basic 1.0 of the game up and running, hopefully relatively bug-free, and, you know, the game working in a reasonable state with most of the core features there and that sort of thing. I don't want this to be an AI game. I'm just using it to help me do what I can't do on my own. I can do art. It will be bad, but hopefully I will get some help and we'll have some nice art for the finished game, assuming we get that far. But that would be the end goal. I'm not really interested in having AI art and all the rest of it. I want there to be nice, cool, pretty art to look at. And maybe if some artists want to get on board on the project, if they're interested, then awesome. Maybe we can have a few different artists in there designing things. That would be cool. But let's just see if we even get a base game down first, huh? So the first thing we had to do is decide what game are we making. I want to do something relatively simple because I want to, you know, figure things out and not just overload myself and end up with a dead project. However, I do want it to be something that I would be interested in playing. I was thinking a game that had a couple of different parts to it. So I figured we'd start with one part, which would be town development. And once we got that part down, town management, we can move on to the second part, which would be battles and that sort of thing. Now, I'm not too sure what parts of the game people will be interested or what parts of the game making process people will be most interested in, but let's have a quick overview of the project and what we've got so far. So, here's the game itself, and if we click play, the idea is you can click on the buildings themselves and they will, well, the producers will generate resources, whatever those resources are, and then once they're clicked, you will claim those resources. And if you click on their information button, it will tell you everything about them, it will tell you what it produces, and it will tell you how much it produces and what its next upgrade will be, and here as well how much it can store at the upgrade or at its current level and what its upgrade will cost. And you can see the upgrade button is grayed out and it tells you it requires town center level 2. However, you can also see that things are kind of broken at the moment. So I can click the info buttons, but for some reason things are not producing and the warehouse button is also not displaying how much resources are in the warehouse. Now, I did actually have this fully working and everything was upgradable, and the only thing that was wrong was for some reason some of the buildings couldn't get past level 2 even though the town center would have been fully leveled up, because the town center requires a certain level, and then it says, okay, well, if I'm level 6, then yes, this building can come up to level 6, for example. A lot of that's fine-tuning that I'll figure out later, but for now, I think it's just level for level. Here's where we have the first big issue that I decided to stop and say, you know what, maybe I'll start the video here, because things were going very well. There were some ups and downs, and we'll go through different parts of the project. The conversation log, this one here, right? And this had gotten so insanely long. Look how I can barely... Here we go. So long. Real bad. Like, I'm talking like I would probably have to close and reopen it, and it was like 5+ minutes of waiting. Anyway, so I've had to make a new chat, and then I've somehow had to import all of the project into this chat so that it understands, because telling it to go back and reference the old chat does not work. This worked for a little bit, but then it just started creating more and more errors. So that's the stage I'm at now, and I have to figure that out before we can progress any further. Probably half of this conversation, actually most of it, probably somewhere about here, is it messing up the game that was working. So now I have to figure out, do I revert and go back? And that's where we have stuff like GitHub. And so you can see I had 2 days ago, I had a fully working build, but it does not work right now. So I'm like, do I just go back to this, or do I keep melding this stupid new chat and try and get it to work, try and fix whatever it's done that's messed everything up, which I've already wasted at least a couple of hours on and had no progress. In fact, it's probably just made things worse. So that's where we're up right now. All right, so to run you guys through the basic structure of the game, we've got our warehouses which store things, we've got producers which produce the resources, and over here is just the pop-up. It's the UI that will show up whenever you click on any information button, and this is part of that as well. Now some of it's probably a bit messy, and I can probably delete some old parts, but I'm more inclined to try and get the game working first, because as you go along, you get more familiar with the program, you get more familiar with what the AI is telling you, because it is kind of useful to help learn coding a bit. It does drop some general knowledge and hints and stuff like that. The amount you need to learn to make anything useful versus what you're going to learn is just not quite there. I also have this toast container as well, which is supposed to, when you click on a producer, be like, yay, you got this many resources, good job. But it doesn't work. That has never worked. The new chat tells me that it should work now, except it's broken everything else, so we won't know until everything else is fixed. And then we have the town center, which is, you can also, sorry, I forgot to show that. Click on the town center info, but you can click on the town center itself, and if you have resources, which I can't show you because I don't have resources, you can click, and anywhere you drag the mouse, or if you're on mobile, anywhere you drag your thumb, you can just click and paste the building, and you now have that building. That's where we're up to so far. The main 2 parts of learning I've done so far is figuring out how the hell does Godot work and what do things do in here, and it seems to be relatively well put together. There have been a few really strange odd bugs that I've come across that just I could not figure out. Like, I wasted like half a day, and then I closed the program and reopened the program and the bug's no longer there. Just some silly things like that. But that aside, it's much better than Unity so far for what I'm doing. And it makes a lot more sense, generally speaking. You've got scripts up here, which is going to be all your different scripts. And you've got your scene. I'm making a 2D game, so we're using 2D. And then you can actually see the game as well in this window if you want. Obviously, you have to play the game. And the thing that differentiates this a lot from Unity is if you had started the game and then you forget you have the game window open and you tab in here and start making changes. In Unity, when you stopped, everything would revert to before how it was when you started the game. Here, everything carries through. So you didn't just close the game and waste like 3 hours editing and be like, whoops, I had the game playing, I didn't realize. Down here, the file system is literally the file system. So we have another thing I forgot to mention is the buildings hooked up so that at level 1, they'll look a certain way. And as you level them up, we can put in new pictures of the building so they can look better and more complete as they get more levels. So pretty much all we have in here is the scenes and the code, and that's pretty much it. So a scene is, if you click on it, you will open the scene here, and you can have all your scenes. They're all tabbed up here. And so you need a main scene, which is obviously this one, and this is where we see everything. But for example, the town center, you can see it's literally just the town center, and it's got the info button and the town center, and that's it. And that is obviously in the main scene here. So that's how that works. Now, with the scenes, there is one other thing that was really useful, especially with working with an AI. Instead of coming up here and trying to put all of these nodes and buttons and whatever it is in here, if you've done something wrong or you're not sure something's not working, you can actually go in your computer to where the scene is stored, probably in documents under Godot usually. And you can actually open the TSCN file, and basically this is your scene. This is just, all it is saying the nodes and that sort of thing and how they're presented in here in the menu. So you can actually copy this into the AI, and that way the AI can see what's going on and how it's set up, and then it can actually spit this back out at you if you want as well. Although I don't love doing that because then it doesn't carry through certain values like text, for example. I noticed that it always sets text to 1 for me, even though I've told it not to, but I need to have it on size 30 because otherwise it's unreadable. And so if I ever copied back in something it gave me to fix something, it will set the text size back to 1. So basically, this is the same thing essentially as the scene. It's literally just the back end of the scene, not in a pretty UI. This can be very helpful when working with the AI. The other thing for Godot is scripts are relatively simple now. If you click on the script and you just grab what you want and you can just drag it over to whatever scene that you need to drag it onto by changing the scene, obviously. And you just drag and drop them and pop them onto any node that you need. And clicking this button here will take you to the scene. So that's a nice little shortcut as well if you don't want to scrub through here and look at all of them and you're in the main scene. That's about it for useful, simple stuff in Godot for the project so far. Something that's been kind of useful is if you put @export variable, you can have your, once you click on the warehouse, for example, so this is the warehouse script and it's attached to the node. And so once you have that there, it does give you properties that you've set to export. So now I don't have to come into the code every time, which means that I don't need a single line for every single resource as well. I can just have them attached to script, and then for each different one, they can all have their own values exported here, which is much easier to tweak and edit than having to go back into the code. Now, why is GitHub here? It's basically a code backup. So any changes that have been made, you can see I've done this over a week. Any changes that I've made where I get to a point where I say, okay, I want to save the project here, then the code is all saved and I can always revert back to that at any point. It's basically saying save as for the project. So this is where I'm currently weighing up. Do I revert back to this fully working version, or do I try and fix the mess that the AI has made here? Well, I would have loved to show you a fully working version of the game. Like I said, it's kind of wrecked at the moment. So that'll have to be in the next video, assuming there is one. Learning how to work with the AI and what the AI does and how it responds to things has also been quite a learning process in itself. Just figuring out, how do I tell it best to do things? Or sometimes it will get stuck in loops. Like you'll give it a piece of information and it will go around in circles. It'll be like, to fix this error, we need to do this. And then that will create another error. And then you'll fix that error. And then that will create the original error. And you'll just go around in circles over and over and over. And that can get quite annoying. So there's certain things that you have to figure out and work around. Other than that, it works pretty well most of the time. There's also a way that you can permanently store things for the AI to not forget, such as I'm working in Godot 4.4. That's important because there's lots of script changes and stuff. The AI will spit out old information from like Godot 3, for example, and then the code's all wrong, it doesn't work because they've changed the language. So that can be quite frustrating, but once you figure out working around it and saving what those certain things are that it keeps getting stuck on, usually it works pretty smoothly. Now, of course, there's going to be lots of hiccups, like it's an AI, but you know what? It can code, and even if that code's a bit messy, I can't code, and I ain't got time to learn, and then somehow find time to make a game on top of that. So it's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. And I think with the new GPT-5 model, it's finally at the point, because I've tried a couple of times before. You can see over here, I've tried asking it lots of different questions and experimenting and looking around with different Godot projects like a 3D and that sort of thing. You can see here I was looking at 3D grids to see if that would be simpler for the town and whatnot. But long story short, 2D and as simple as possible. Because as the project starts to get bigger, the AI starts to get more and more confused and less consistent. You really need it to be consistent and hopefully get everything in the one chat. Just like how I split this game into 2 parts. If I could have finished the town in one chat, in one part, that would have been brilliant, and I think we wouldn't have had any troubles there. Because it got to the point where that was a bit long because I was learning to use Godot, so I was maybe asking questions I didn't need to ask if I would have known how to use it, or even just getting the hang of the AI as well. That unfortunately makes the chat too long, and then you end up with problems. So if you can do each step at a time and separate them in their own chat, that'll probably work much better for you. And I think that's about it for the first video. I don't really have anything to show you, unfortunately, with the game in the broken state, other than what I've already shown you. But hopefully we start the next video with a fully working town scene where nothing is broken, and then we can move on to the second part of the game. And we'll see how that goes. After that, the game's pretty much done. It'll just be adding in some features and that sort of thing, and figuring out how to get it onto the App Store, or how to export it as a PC game on Steam. If you guys have any questions or any comments on stuff you'd like to see, things you might find interesting that I can spend some more time and more detail on as we go through this series, then let me know in the comments. Otherwise, there's also the Discord, and we do have a game making chat in there as well. If you guys are working on your own projects and you want to share, feel free to come in and just be part of the community. If you're still here, I'm glad you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.